I just spent an entire evening and a small fortune tasting every dish on this extensive menu at a restaurant that recently jumped from 1 to 2 Michelin stars. But the real question is, was it worth it? Does this restaurant truly live up to the prestige of 2 Michelin stars? In this video, I'm going to take you through my full experience, and let's just say it didn't exactly go the way I expected. But we'll get to that. But first of all, welcome to TasteBud. I'm a sommelier that reviews some of the world's best Michelin star restaurants based on my own rating system. Stick with me to the end of this episode for a breakdown of this system and how today's restaurant rating came out. A jewel in the crown of Oslo's culinary scene. Restaurant Kontrast is a story of passion, innovation, and a deep-rooted connection to the natural bounty of Norway, and obviously also Sweden, because at the heart of this restaurant is the visionary Mikael Svensson, a chef whose journey and philosophy shape every aspect of this celebrated establishment.
So welcome to Kontrast.
His culinary journey began in Sweden, where the rich landscape and seasons deeply influenced his appreciation for fresh, local ingredients. His early years were marked by an exploration of traditional Scandinavian cooking, setting the foundation for his future endeavors. Svensson developed a comprehensive understanding of global culinary trends and techniques while maintaining a strong connection to his Scandinavian roots. Kontrast is located in one of Oslo's most innovative and lively districts called Vulkan, close to Grünerløkka. It actually sits on top of the main food hall in Oslo, and the entrance is from the highly trafficked road that is called Maridalsveien. Inside, it has a separate lounge area and a larger main dining room with 2 smaller rooms for private dining arrangements. While the restaurant's industrial style and minimalist interior might feel a bit sterile to some, the atmosphere serves as a striking contrast to the warmth and creativity of the dishes emerging from the open kitchen. This juxtaposition perfectly embodies the restaurant's name and philosophy. Harmonious blend of contrasts, traditional and modern, local and global, simplicity and complexity. The design and culinary experience come together to challenge expectations, making the meal even more memorable. We enter the restaurant and are greeted friendly by the always professional restaurant manager, Ramon Moral. After leaving our jackets in the wardrobe, we are escorted to the lounge area, located between the entrance and the main dining room. The head sommelier, Thomas Venuto, arrives with a bottle of champagne to get us started for the evening. Thomas recommends us an extra dry, non-vintage from La Herte Freres that will go well with the first few snack bites. The La Herte family is a renowned producer in Champagne, now run by Aurélien La Herte, which is the 7th generation of the family. This cuvée has an interesting blend of 60% Pinot Meunier, 30% Chardonnay and 10% Pinot Noir. The winemaking process involves fermenting the wine in a combination of vats, foeders and barrels, with 40% reserve wines aged in wood. The wine does not undergo malolactic fermentation, which helps maintain its freshness and vibrant acidity. The result is a crisp, energetic champagne with layers of chalky minerality, citrus and brioche notes. After enjoying the first glass of champagne, we top up and get ready for the service. Ramon arrives at the table with the first snack. This is beef wrapped in kohlrabi, topped with Siberian sturgeon caviar. A soft, juicy, and umami-packed first bite of the evening. Tender and meaty flavors mixed with the saltiness of the caviar was a great match to the sweet kohlrabi. I was missing some texture, but the flavors was great. The second snack arrives, and while I was missing the texture in the first one, this serving had plenty of it. Raw shrimps was served in a crusted topped with dill and horseradish, and garnished with a crisp salt bread. This is a textbook example of the new Nordic cuisine, combining the best ingredients from the ocean with Norwegian herbs. The shrimps are catched in the ocean outside of Eidshaug on the mid-west coast of Norway and are served raw as to enhance the natural and delicious flavor. The third snack is a potato donut, served with Scandinavia's top caviar, Lerum from Kalix in Sweden. It's so simple but wonderfully complex at the same time. Snack number 4 is another crusted, this time made with pork blood and filled with a Norwegian specialty cheese from Holtefjell and topped with beer vinegar. A fantastic snack packed with umami flavors, once again excellent. The last snack before we move over to the main dining room looks more like small worms, but is in fact duck liver brulee served with dry-aged duck breast. This one lacked some acidity and contrast to my taste, but still they disappeared from my plate down to my stomach, so it probably wasn't that bad. Over to the first course. We then move over to our table in the main dining room. On the way, I swung by the kitchen to say hello to head chef Sonja Christensen. She was already plating our first course for tonight. Mountain trout from Hardanger in Norway that is dry-aged for 10 days to enhance the flavors. The fish is served with a shoyu, made from Jerusalem artichoke and miso, so definitely some Japanese influences here. The dish itself is more interesting than delicious. I definitely like the complex umami-rich flavor, but I was missing some acidity and texture. The fish in itself was perfectly prepared, and the dry aging was a bold move to what is already a fantastic produce. The first wine pairing was in fact not a wine, but a very floral sake from the Kyoto region called Natsu no Omoide. Mukai Shuso is a tiny brewery with an exceptionally long history, having been founded in 1754 and is still a family-run business today. The current master brewer is Kuniko Mukai, that was one of the first female master brewers in Japan at the young age of 22. She is an exceptionally creative brewer who makes sake that are unique to anyone else. Natsu no Omoide translates to memories of summer. This version was fermented in 2000 utilizing a rare strain of yeast known as the 100-year yeast. The outcome of this fermentation created a vibrantly rich and acidic style of sake that Kuniko then aged for many years. It has an oxidative and complex nose with an umami-rich palate of sweet and sour apricots, prune and vanilla. The finish is long, dry and complex with bitter caramel and woody nuances. It is simply a stunning contemplative sake for one of Japan's brewing stars, and I really applaud this pick from Thomas, the sommelier. However, that said, I think this first serving with a combination of dry-aged umami-packed mountain trout and a complex sake was quite a bold move. It takes some experience and practice to really understand and appreciate these complex flavors. And I'm afraid that some guests are lost along the way here. For me, this was a really interesting start, but for others it was a shoulder shrug. After a complex first serving, we are offered a lighter and fruitier approach. The tasting menu's mandatory bread and butter serving. The Restaurant Contrast version is a fantastic sourdough bread and a homemade butter with edible flowers. In contrast to many other restaurants, this bread and butter serving had its dedicated wine pairing. Thomas presented us a Greek white wine, the fabulous Artemis Karamolegos Assyrtiko Mysterio 34. And I must say, this wine is such an ode to the terroir of Santorini. The 34 on the label refers to the 34 continuous centuries that the vineyard of Santorini has been cultivated. Assyrtiko comes from 120-year-old ancestral vines from the best vineyards in the region. The wine matures for 9 months on its fine lees to acquire an oily, buttery sensation that really balances its sharp acidity. A 10% of the wine then matures for 5 months in third-use oak barrels, and each of these elements is very carefully thought out to create an epic wine worthy of the island's history and heritage. It has an incredible concentration, structure, oily texture and sharp acidity, all in perfect balance. Juicy citrus fruits and stone fruits are dressed in a smoky, mineral cloak that perfectly reflects the island's terroir. With the rich taste of the freshly baked bread and the incredible butter, this wine was an excellent choice of the sommelier. The 7th serving for tonight was scallops from Hitra, served with elderflower and saffron from Skåne, topped with its own roe. In itself, A wonderful dish with some of the best ingredients the Norwegian coast has to offer. Scallops from Hitra in Trøndelag are famous for its size and high quality, and the saffron and elderflower complemented the delicious scallop perfectly. A great dish. The wine selected by Thomas was a rich Chenin Blanc from Saumur in the middle of the Loire Valley in France. The Saumur Blanc in Solitaire is a fresh and mineral wine obtained from pure Chenin Blanc grapes that come from a selection of 3 vineyards. It's then refined for 12 months in wooden barrels. On the nose, the aromas recall citrus notes with hints of grapefruit and lemon, and menthol notes as well. In the mouth, it's punchy, mineral, and has excellent freshness. Unfortunately, I found this as one of the weakest pairing of tonight. I understand the reason to bring freshness to the intensity of the dish and the scallops, but in my opinion, the high acidity did not complement the tender dish. The next serving was grilled skrei, marinated on langoustine glaze, served with fermented plums from Scott Gård with miso sauce. This is another treat from the coast of northern Norway. Skrei is one of the world's most sought-after seasonal seafood delicacies and is only available for the first few months of the year, at a time when this wild, migratory fish reaches the shores of northern Norway after a monumental 1,000 kilometers journey from the depths of the icy Barents Sea. Literally translated, the Viking name skrei means traveler, and by the time it arrives in Norway, skrei is at its very best, with a wonderful, succulent texture and a distinctive flavor which comes from the lean flesh created by the lengthy swim across the Atlantic. Revered by some of the chefs across the globe, this impressive fish is meaty yet delicate, and when cooked is beautifully flaky. Today's creation at Kontrast was a killer, with an amazing langoustine glaze and juicy fermented plums and miso sauce. Even though I was missing some texture again, this dish was nothing short of amazing. The wine pairing was an excellent blend of Chardonnay and Pinot Blanc from Weingut Bernhard Huber in Baden, Germany. I've seen this Malterdinger cuvée at several Michelin restaurants lately, which is a tribute to quality from this great winemaker. Weingut Bernhard Huber in Malterdingen is the closest you can come to a piece of the Côte d'Or anywhere in Baden. This wine is bright and fruity on the nose, with subtle floral notes and a hint of minerality. Very delicately structured on the palate with great finesse and elegance. Another great pairing that also complemented us in the next dish. Here we have our first pure vegetable dish for the night. Roasted celeriac, preserved mushroom, and truffle. Tender and concentrated taste of the sweet celeriac, and an overall decent dish, but nothing very special about this one, in my opinion. It might be that I was starting to be quite full, that affected my appetite, because the tempo was high in this first part of the meal. In general, the servers were polite and attentive, and the service is formal and friendly in a laid-back but professional way. The next one is chicken wing from Hovesrud Farm, served with caramelized onions, egg yolk, and ramson. What a beautiful, rich, and intense dish this was. It was so tender and fragile, but at the same time super concentrated, and also a rich and fatty mouthfeel because of the chicken fat and the egg yolk. To complement this rich dish, Thomas paired it with a 100% Sauvignon from Jura in France. The winemaker, Julien Maréchal, has quietly gone about making a stellar name for himself since establishing Domaine de la Borde in 2003. The estate is run according to organic and biodynamic principles, with wine age averaging 30 years. A hands-off approach to winemaking ensures these wines speak very clearly of terroir. This cuvée is an inviting rendition of Sauvignon. It's all about the ripe, fresh stone fruits and citric acid that was a perfect match to the chicken. The kitchen continues with some more proteins. This time, another classic produced from the Jotunheimen Mountains in Norway. This is reindeer, served with beetroot sabayon. A simple yet precise and delicate serving where the amazing meat shines in all its natural beauty. Wonderfully tender and really some of the best meat you can get. The beetroot sabayon complements the meat in a great way with earthy tones and a rich and acidic taste. Thomas, the sommelier, is back with the first and only red wine of the night, a Prelit from Damijan Podversic. This is a winery located in Gorizia in Italy, near the border of Slovenia, where they have only 6 hectares of vineyards. There's 5 grapes inside, with Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon as the main grapes. The winery's philosophy is to respect the environment and its ecosystem with 100% organic farming, where all the processing, both in the vineyard and in the cellar, are dictated by the moon phases. This cuvée is from 2019, it's a blend of Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon, and it has a full 3 years in large oak barrels. This is a full-bodied and intense red wine that is very well made and an interesting wine in itself. However, the match to the delicate flavors of the reindeer was not the best. To me, this is a way too powerful red wine for this dish, and I did not quite get this pairing, to be honest. Finally, it's time for some cheese and desserts. The next course coming from the kitchen is Norway's most famous cheese, Kraftkar from Tingvoll in Nordmøre on the western part of Norway. This cheese is made from unskimmed cow's milk and cream with injected culture of the mold Penicillium roqueforti. At the 2016 World Cheese Awards in San Sebastian, Kraftkar was selected world champion in all categories among more than 3,000 participating cheeses from 35 countries. Today, we are served a Kraftkar frozen with sunflower seeds and birch syrup. An excellent and creative serving that had both texture, sweetness and acidity to match the strong flavors of the blue cheese. The wine pairing was a late harvest Sauvignon Blanc from the Rueda region in Spain. Rueda is located about 180 kilometers northwest of Madrid in the heart of Castile and Leon. On an elevated plain of around 700 meters above sea level, it has a strong continental climate, and during both extreme heat and cold. To the north, it touches the Duero River, is famous for alluvial soils with high lime content, and to the south, the soil is sandy with a gravel and clay subsoil. Because of this, there is a good number of more than 100-year-old pre-phylloxera wines knocking about. This particular bottle from Bodegas Menade was a great match to this dish. The wine has a bright, light and clean nose of pears in syrup with more aromatic and tropical Sauvignon notes of passion fruit and peach. The palate is light and fresh with perfectly balanced sweetness and acidity. It's lots more passion fruits, honeysuckle and lifted tropical fruits on the finish. A super nice wine that transitioned perfectly over to the next course. The final serving in this 9-course tasting menu was a dessert made with blueberries and koji. A decent serving with a nice balance between sweetness and acidity. But as I tend to prefer desserts that are more on the fresher side, I found it a bit too rich and heavy for my taste. The wine selected to the dessert got my attention though. Krache is one of Austria's most famous wineries and is always of outstanding quality. This one is on the radar among sommeliers at top restaurants around the world. The Krache winery is located in the Seewinkel region of Burgenland in Austria, and thanks to the warm and humid climate, the evaporation from the lake and the evening mist, the conditions here are ideal for botrytis. The Zweigelt Beerenauslese has a fruity nose of ripe strawberries and cherries. On the palate we have ripe red currants, stewed sour cherries and strawberry jam, long-lasting with citrus notes on the finish. A wonderful last wine of the night. As we wrap up the evening enjoying a final round of Petit Fours, we found ourselves debating the experience and final ratings. The presentation and quality of the sweet bites were impressive, but being quite full we didn't finish all of them. However, our ratings across my 4 categories were completed. But before we dive into the final scores, I want to take a moment to thank you for watching. If you found value in this video, I'd really appreciate if you could hit subscribe and support our mission to highlight the incredible work of the best chefs and sommeliers at some of the finest restaurants in the world. Your support helps us continue to bring you these in-depth reviews. Now for my final verdict on Restaurant Kontrast in Oslo, broken down into the 4 main categories. Interior, design and atmosphere. Unfortunately, this was the weakest part of the experience for us. Maybe it was just an off night, but the restaurant felt lacking in energy, with several empty tables that contributed to a somewhat subdued atmosphere. The industrial design, though striking, felt a bit too harsh, especially on a cold winter night when warmth and coziness are what you crave. We agreed on a score of 5 out of 10 in this category. Then service. There's little to critique here. The staff were friendly, attentive, and professional throughout the evening. A special mention goes to the sommelier and waitstaff for their excellent work. We rated service 19 out of 20, a near perfect score. Then for the wine pairing. The wine program stood out for its commitment to high-quality, organic, and biodynamic producers. Pairings were well chosen, though not particularly extraordinary. Considering both the selection and the pricing, we gave it a solid score of 17 out of 20. Now for the most important category, the food. The quality was undoubtedly high, but we felt that many dishes lacked the creativity and flair we had anticipated. While it was a very good meal overall, it didn't deliver the standout wow moments we were hoping for. We awarded 42 out of 50 points for the food. In total, Restaurant Contrast scored 83 points, landing it comfortably in my good restaurant rating range. And if you remember from the beginning, when I mentioned that they just got upgraded from 1 to 2 Michelin stars, you're probably now thinking that my rating is in conflict with that. Well, that depends on how you look at it. And to really understand what the Michelin inspectors look for when giving their rating, check this video next, where I reveal all the secrets about what it really means to be awarded 1, 2, or 3 Michelin stars.